My name's Oliver, and I'm 34. I don't talk much at family events, but not because I'm shy or don't have anything to say. It's just easier to stay quiet when no one's really listening anyway. I've always been the reliable one. The one who fixes things, who pays for things, who shows up when no one else does. My family doesn't say thank you anymore. I think they stopped realizing I was doing anything at all. Growing up, I was the oldest. My sister, Emily, is 5 years younger than me. And from the moment she turned 12, she figured out that if she whined long enough, Mom and Dad would let her get away with murder. She'd borrow my stuff, wreck it, and then throw a tantrum if I complained. Mom would scold me for making her feel bad. Dad would grumble something about how I had to look out for your sister. I thought maybe it'd change as we got older. It didn't. When I graduated college, I got a job straight away. Entry-level IT, nothing glamorous, but I worked hard and got promoted every few years. I didn't party, didn't travel much. I just saved. Helped Mom and Dad pay off their second mortgage when Dad lost his job. Helped Emily through university when she changed majors 3 times and forgot to apply for financial aid. Bought Mom a new car when hers gave out. I thought doing all that meant something, that they saw it, maybe even appreciated it. Turns out, it just made me invisible. It was a Sunday afternoon, one of those forced family lunches where everyone pretends to care for 2 hours before going back to ignoring each other for the rest of the month. I brought a store-bought apple pie because I didn't have time to bake like Mom wanted. She barely looked at me when she opened the door. We were halfway through lunch when it happened. Dad was complaining about the heating bill again, even though I'd been paying it for the past 3 winters. Emily was scrolling through her phone, barely pretending to listen. Mom was sipping her wine, smiling like none of this mattered. And then Emily looked up, smirked, and said it like a joke. He's just bitter because no one needs him anymore. She didn't even say it with malice, just that casual cruelty people use when they know they can get away with it. And everyone laughed. Even Mom. Even Dad. Like I was some washed-up has-been clinging to relevance. Something in me cracked. I didn't shout. I didn't slam my fists or throw my plate. I just pulled out my phone, unlocked it, and looked straight at Emily. "Let's see how you feel," I said quietly, "when I cancel every bill in this house." They went silent. For the first time in years, they looked at me like I was real. I stood up and stepped back from the table, slowly scrolling through my saved logins, utilities, insurance, car payments, streaming services, even the rent for the apartment Emily lived in downtown. They didn't know I'd been covering that too. She always forgot to send it to me. "You wouldn't dare," Mom said, voice shaking just a little. "Try me." Dad stood up, but he didn't say anything. Emily looked from me to her phone, as if trying to decide if this was just some bluff or if I'd finally grown a spine. It wasn't about the money anymore. It was about how easy it had become for them to forget I was the one holding the roof up. Every birthday missed. Every one of their emergencies that I quietly solved. Every snide remark about how I was too serious, too single, too boring. I had let it slide. I thought that's what family did. But now it just felt like I'd been funding their comfort at the cost of my own dignity. "I give it 3 days," I said, turning to the door. "Let's see how long you laugh without me." I walked out, letting the silence follow me all the way to the car. My hands were shaking, but not from nerves. From release. It was like I'd been holding my breath for years, and I was finally letting it go. The first call came 20 minutes later. Then another. And another. I ignored them all. But the message that finally made me stop and stare at my screen. That one came from Emily. Just 2 words. "You're bluffing." And I smiled. Because I wasn't. I didn't reply. I just sat in my car outside my apartment complex, engine off, windows rolled up, staring at the message. "You're bluffing." It was so her. Even now, after I'd called her out in front of everyone, after I'd threatened to pull the rug out from under the whole circus they were running, she still believed I was too soft to follow through. That I was still the doormat brother, the background noise of her glittering, chaotic life. I went upstairs, changed into something more comfortable, and opened my laptop. It was all surprisingly easy. Years of setting everything up for them meant I had everything connected. Autopay, saved credentials, linked emails. My name on most of the accounts, sometimes even the only name. And they never once questioned it. Why would they? I was their failsafe, their built-in safety net. The first thing I did was cancel the autopay for their electric bill, then the water, then the internet. I gave them one more month to figure it out themselves, Just enough time to create chaos, not disaster. I didn't want to ruin their lives. I wanted to remind them whose hands had been keeping the walls from caving in. Emily's rent. That was next. I opened the property management portal and removed my payment method. I was listed as a co-signer. Her credit had been too poor to qualify a loan. She'd never thank me for that either. Rent was due in 5 days. Plenty of time for her to panic. I hovered over Mom's car insurance login. She never learned to use the app herself. Every time her card expired, she'd call me and say, "Ollie, be a dear, fix it for me?" Like I was the family butler. Click. Cancelled. That night, my phone buzzed so many times I had to put it face down and silence it. Group chats lit up. Missed calls. A voicemail from Dad that started calm and ended with thinly veiled anger. Emily sent me 3 texts in a row, all sarcastic, each more frantic than the last. "Wow, petty much? Okay, you made your point. Can you just fix it? Seriously, Ollie, this isn't funny anymore." And maybe it wasn't funny, but it was satisfying. For the first time in my adult life, I felt like I had control, not just over them, but over myself. I didn't realize how deep the resentment had gone until I tasted the freedom of saying no. By the 3rd day, the tone changed. I got a text from Mom. No greeting. No punctuation. "We lost power." Then a second one. "Why are you doing this to us?" Not a single mention of the lunch. Not an apology. Not even a question. Just blame, like I had lashed out without reason. Like their cruelty was some harmless joke I'd overreacted to. I didn't reply. That night, I heard from someone I hadn't spoken to in years, my cousin Jake. We used to be close as kids before my parents decided he was a bad influence and slowly cut him out of our lives. He'd seen the fallout on social media, Emily's passive-aggressive posts, my sister-in-law's cryptic comments about people who forget what family means. He messaged me 2 words. Finally snapped? I told him everything. We ended up talking until 2 a.m. That conversation, just hearing someone say, "Dude, it's about time," meant more than any of the fake smiles I'd gotten from my family in the last decade. Jake reminded me of the version of me that existed before I got buried under obligation. Before I became the bank account with a heartbeat. On day 4, Emily showed up at my apartment. I didn't answer the door at first. She knocked 5 times. Waited. Then texted, "I'm outside. Please." She looked tired. Not broken, but definitely shaken. Gone was the smug, dismissive attitude. She was holding her phone like it was a shield, her makeup slightly smudged, her usual high-end jacket swapped for something basic. It was subtle, but I noticed. I opened the door just enough to lean against the frame. "What do you want? Can we talk?" I didn't move. "I didn't mean what I said," she added quickly. "At the lunch. It was just, I don't know, a joke. You know how I get." "You get mean," I said, "and no one stops you." She swallowed. "I'm sorry, okay?" I didn't say anything. "I need a little help this month," she said after a beat. "Just rent." The manager's threatening too. I raised my eyebrows. She paused, then let out a breath, like she didn't want to say the next part. "I know I messed up. We all did. But you can't just cut everyone off like that. We're family." "Exactly," I said. "We're family. So maybe you should have acted like it." That landed harder than I expected. Her face fell, and for a moment, I saw a flicker of the girl she used to be. Before the manipulation, before the entitlement. But then she straightened up. "You're not the only one with problems, Ollie. You're not some hero." I smiled, but there wasn't any warmth in it. I never wanted to be. I just wanted to thank you. Or maybe for someone to ask if I was okay once in a while. She said nothing. "I think it's time you all learn how to stand on your own," I added. "I've done my part. I'm done playing savior." Then I closed the door. The next day, Dad called. No voicemail this time. Just a missed call, then another, and another. I didn't pick up. But later that night, he sent a message that made me stop cold. "You made your point. But if you're done punishing us, I'd like to talk. Man to man." I stared at it for a long time. Not because I was ready to forgive. Not even because I was curious. But because, for the first time in years, it sounded like he saw me. I didn't respond to Dad's message right away. I reread it several times over the next day, trying to figure out the tone behind those words. Was it genuine? Manipulative? Was it just the opening move in a long campaign to guilt me into turning the water back on? Or was it something more? A crack in the wall. I wanted to believe it was real. That maybe, just maybe, he was ready to speak to me like a person instead of an employee of the House of Dysfunction. But I'd fallen for that before. I'd gotten my hopes up too many times, only to be pulled right back into the same old loop of guilt, obligation, and carefully disguised scorn. Still, I agreed to meet. We picked a neutral place, an old cafe halfway between his neighborhood and mine. I arrived early, out of habit, and sat in the far corner where I could see who came in. My stomach was a tight knot, and even though I tried to tell myself I didn't care what he'd say, I couldn't stop tapping my foot under the table. Dad showed up 10 minutes late, wearing his usual windbreaker and a frown that looked more like it had been carved there than worn. He scanned the place like he expected a trap. When he spotted me, his face didn't change. He sat across from me, stiff, silent, ordered coffee with a grunt to the server. I waited. Finally, he sighed. "I didn't raise you to be spiteful, Oliver." That was his opener. "No, how are you?" "No, thank you for meeting me." Just that. I stared at him for a long beat. "You didn't raise me at all." That made him flinch, and for a split second, I saw his age. The wear in his eyes. The lines that had deepened since the last time we really looked at each other. But he recovered quickly, like he always did. "You think we didn't appreciate what you did? Just because we didn't throw a parade?" "No," I said evenly. "I think you didn't appreciate it because you expected it. Like it was my job." "It was your job. You're the oldest." I felt a bitter laugh rise in my chest. "So that's it. You and Mom decided I was the designated provider? The fixer? The guy who pays for everything and never complains?" "You never said no," he said, almost defensively. "I never thought I could," I said, leaning forward. "You taught me that. You taught me that love has strings. That if I didn't do what you wanted, I wasn't being family. And Emily? You turned her into someone who thinks the world owes her just for existing. Congratulations on that, by the way." He didn't speak for a long moment, just stared down at his coffee, stirring it without sipping. "I'm not perfect," he muttered. "None of us are," I said. "But you all treated me like a resource, not a person. I paid bills. I co-signed leases. I bought cars. And not once did any of you stop to think about what that cost me." "What did it cost you?" he asked, quieter this time. I swallowed hard. My voice was lower when I answered. "Time. Peace. A real chance at a life that wasn't just managing yours." I didn't go on vacations. I skipped promotions because I couldn't risk moving away. I lost friends. I stopped myself, jaw tight. I lost me. Dad's shoulders sagged just slightly. We sat in silence for what felt like forever. Then he finally looked at me. Really looked. "I didn't know," he said, "about all that. I thought you were okay. That you were just more responsible." "I was responsible," I said, "because no one else would be. And you all punished me for it." He nodded slowly. The air between us had shifted, less charged now, more raw. "I talked to your mother," he said. "She's struggling to admit she messed up. But she knows we pushed you too far. She won't say it. Not yet. But she knows." I didn't reply. "And Emily," he added, "she's still mad. But I think she's scared, too. Because she doesn't know how to take care of herself. We did that to her." A beat passed. "Are you going to turn the lights back on?" he asked, not unkindly. Just honest. I shook my head. "Not yet." He nodded again, like he expected that answer. "Fair." I stood to leave, but he stopped me with one last thing. "You know, when you were born, I was terrified. I didn't know how to be a dad. I thought, if I just kept you safe, if I paid the bills and kept the roof over your head, that'd be enough. I thought providing was love. And what I did," I said, "wasn't." He met my eyes. "I see now that it was. And I'm sorry it took losing it to understand." There was nothing else to say. I left the cafe without looking back. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. My phone buzzed. It was Emily again. Just one message this time. "I know you hate me. I deserve it. But I need help. Please call me." I didn't reply, not because I wanted to hurt her, but because I needed her to sit in that discomfort, to feel what it was like when I wasn't the one rushing in to fix everything. The next morning, my email pinged. A notice from the property management company. Emily's rent was officially past due. Late fees added. Next step, eviction notice. And just like that, the house of cards began to fall. I read the eviction notice 3 times. Not because I didn't believe it, but because, for the first time in years, Emily had run out of lifelines. The safety net she'd stomped across her whole adult life was finally gone. And now, she was dangling over the edge of consequences she never imagined would touch her. I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. That's the thing people don't understand about revenge. it doesn't feel good the way you expect. It doesn't come with fanfare or confetti. It just feels quiet. Still, like standing on the shore after a storm and seeing what's left. I went to work that morning like normal, had my coffee, answered emails, listened to a client rant about their printer, and gave them the same solution I've given 100 times. All while Emily's future slowly unraveled in the background. Around lunch, I got a call from an unknown number. I didn't answer. A minute later, a voicemail. It was Mom. Her voice was tight, controlled, but there was something else under it, something I hadn't heard in years. Fear. Oliver, it's your mother. I know you're upset. We're all shaken up. Your sister's in trouble, and I think this has gone on long enough. You've made your point. Can we please talk? We miss you. No apology. Just that soft, maternal manipulation she's mastered over a lifetime. The kind that wraps barbed wire in a hug. I deleted the message. That weekend, Emily showed up at my apartment again. I saw her through the peephole, hair pulled into a messy bun, dark circles under her eyes, hoodie too big for her. She looked like a different person. Or maybe just the real one, finally exposed after all the makeup and deflection had peeled away. She didn't knock this time, just sat on the floor outside my door. I let her sit there for over an hour. I heard her phone ring twice, heard her whisper into it that he's not answering, and then silence again. Finally, she said through the door, "You were right. I didn't open it. I used you. We all did. And I don't think I even realized how bad it got. It's like you were always just there, you know? Like the couch. Or the water heater. We never thought about how much pressure you were under." She paused, and I could hear her voice shake. I lost the apartment. The manager gave me a week to clear out. And I called Mom and Dad, but they don't have the money right now. And I don't know where to go. A part of me felt something twist in my chest. Not pity, just recognition. The kind you feel when someone finally sees the same storm you've been trapped in alone. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm really, really sorry." I opened the door. She looked up at me, red-eyed and exhausted. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then I stepped aside and let her in. She didn't fall into my arms or cry on the floor. She just walked in quietly, sat on the couch, and looked around like it was her first time seeing the place. We talked, really talked. She told me how empty her life felt lately, how chasing attention had replaced actual relationships, how Dad's voice still lived in her head, telling her she was special even when she hadn't earned it. How she knew I'd been the one paying for everything but figured I liked doing it, because that's what everyone kept telling her. I told her I didn't want her in my life if it was just going to be more of the same, that I wasn't a safety net, that I wasn't a bank account or an errand boy, that I needed space, respect, boundaries, things we never had growing up. She nodded. "I'll find somewhere else to stay. I just needed to say this." "You can stay here," I said. 1 week. That's it. Okay. We didn't hug. Not that day. But we sat on opposite sides of the couch for hours, just talking. And that was the beginning of something new. The next day, Mom called again. I answered this time. She started soft, again, how she was worried and so glad. We were reconnecting. Then she asked if I could talk to the power company on their behalf. "They're being unreasonable," she said, "cutting us off like that. We didn't even get a warning." I told her I was no longer involved in any of their accounts, that they'd have to figure it out themselves. She didn't take it well. "You're punishing us," she said sharply, "after all we've done for you." I laughed. A short, humorless thing. "All you've done for me. We raised you, fed you, sheltered you. That's the bare minimum of parenting, Mom." She went quiet. "I'm not angry anymore," I said, "but I'm not going back. If you want a relationship with me, it's going to be on new terms. Real ones. Not just calling me when you need a bill paid. And if we can't agree to that, then this is goodbye." The line stayed quiet for a long time. Then she hung up. I didn't call back. 2 weeks later, Emily moved into a small apartment on the edge of town. She'd picked up 2 part-time jobs, one at a bookstore, one at a dog grooming place. For the first time in her life, she was budgeting, cooking, learning how to be self-sufficient. We talked almost every other day now. Real conversations. Not just requests or distractions. Sometimes we argued, but we listened. It wasn't perfect, but it was honest. Mom and Dad haven't called since. I'm okay with that. I still think about them sometimes. About how much I wanted their approval, their love. But I've realized something that took me decades to understand. I don't need it. I used to believe that family meant obligation. That love was measured by how much you could sacrifice. That being the responsible one meant being the forgotten one. But now I know the truth. Love, real love, doesn't demand silence, or self-erasure, or being useful to earn a seat at the table. Real love sees you, respects you, makes space for you. And for the first time in my life, I've made space for myself. I turned the lights back on in my own life. And I'm never going dark again.